Well, hey, like you said, my name is Ken. I've been here at Bethany Global University now for about almost 4 years, right? And just so you know my journey, I was kind of like Kenny said, born and raised in New York City. 19 years of my life, hood rat, all right? Like if you think the ghetto, that's kind of where I was living. And then I moved to middle of nowhere, Texas. It was the cross-cultural experience of a lifetime, okay? Where the melting pot of America, that's where I lived. And then my next door neighbor was Longhorns. All right, I wasn't really sure how to communicate with them. I'm still actually having a little hard time communicating with them, right? But all of a sudden, the Lord did an awesome work in my life. I've learned a lot of great leadership through living in Texas for those 7 years. And then thankfully, the Lord moved me out of Texas to the great Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I went from the amazing warm weather in Texas to this cool breeze Minnesota weather that we love and enjoy here. But at the same time, during that whole season, like Kenny said, I had the privilege to being under his leadership, under Candace, who you'll hear from in a little bit, about just how to be a good team leader. Now, I think most of you guys have been in some sort of leadership role on a mission trip before. Is that correct? Yeah? Just out of curiosity, who's been on more than like 2 or 3 mission trips? All right, sweet. So I'm talking to a lot of vets. That's even more exciting. And the reason why that's exciting is because many times what ends up happening is that we've gotten to 1 mission trip, 2 mission trips, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right, 20, and you kind of just get stuck in a routine. And in that routine, we all of a sudden think we got it handled. And one of the things that I always learn and very quickly on in ministry is that just because you did it once the first time doesn't mean it's going to work the second time, right? And that's where all of a sudden I was like, how do I do what I'm supposed to be called to do? How do I take this 1 week, 2 week, month mission trip that we're going to do? And how do I actually develop and leverage the people that God has placed in my life as best as possible? Thankfully for me, I have had a lot of great opportunities where I could mentor and develop teams throughout the last 10 years of my ministry. I went from groups of like 2 people to 12 people, to 20 people, to right now, I'm developing about 250 people on this campus, right? So the things that I'm about to talk to you today about is not just like, hey, let's talk about the team of 5. Let's talk about the team of 20. It's universal. However big or small your team is, this is the stuff that I want you guys to take a hold of, because I think will revolutionize and capitalize how effective your team is going to be on the field. All right, especially when you have a team of like, for just a week. How many of you guys have realized, like, as soon as you go on that mission trip for 1 week, you get back and you're like, what just happened? Right? It was like a whirlwind. How many of you guys have ever had that 1 week mission trip where like the biggest hardship for you was the airport, right? Like just the chaos of the airport situation, right? Or you get on the field and you're like, oh my gosh, what are we supposed to do? And you always feel like you're reactive versus proactive. And you're trying to figure it out. Or my favorite, you go on a mission trip and they say, here's your plan for ministry. And you're like, are you sure you got this covered? They're like, yeah. We've talked to the locals, all right? It's all set up. You're good to go. And then you get there and you talk to the local about this plan and they're like, that's awesome. I've never seen that before. Has that ever happened to anybody? Right? Kenny's like, yeah, he led me on a trip like that before. It was awesome. All right. So with that, all of a sudden I was like, I have to be prepared. I want to be a proactive leader versus a reactive leader. So how do we do that? The way we do that is what we're going to talk about today is captaining and coaching your team. How do you captain and coaching your team? And I think lots of times we think we know what this is, but we're not really sure how to do it effectively. So I'm going to give you some basic principles of it, and hopefully if we have enough time, dialogue and just kind of throw some question and answers at that point. So let's get on with it. Let's start with captaining first. All right, a captain is one who leads a team to a desired direction, drives the process, and makes wise decisions to accomplish the mission. That is a captain, all right? So what does that look like? I'm going to go kind of old school right here, and I'm going to give you 3 Ds for captaining. All right, everybody say 3 Ds. 3 Ds. All right. The first D is direct with vision. Everybody say direct with vision. Direct with vision. All right, let's add a little bit more passion right there, all right? Direct with vision. Direct with vision. All right, okay. Direct with vision. Vision is ultimately what you as a team leader are supposed to be giving your students or whoever you're leading. If you're not giving your people vision, you are failing as a leader. Was that strong enough? You're like, whoa, too strong, right? But the reality, as a leader, that's ultimately what you're doing, is you're trying to cast a vision to them of what you're doing, where we're going, and why. What you're doing, where you're going, and why. If you're not doing those things on a daily basis, your people are not going to know what to do, right? That's why Proverbs talks about it too. Without vision, people cast off restraint. Like they need a focused vision. Here's an interesting thing. How many of you guys know the vision of Bethany Teams? Silence. Okay, let me tell you the vision of Bethany Teams, all right? I'm shocked, all right? Bethany Teams exists to facilitate and plan excellent Christ-honoring short-term mission trips that serve long-term workers and to inspire trip participants to discover their role in the Great Commission. That's the vision. We want to serve the long-term workers and help those on our trip figure out their role in the Great Commission, right? That's your role. That's the overarching vision. But at the same time, you should still have a vision for your team. Whatever that vision is, it should be very, very clear, right? It should be very clear. There's 3 points here that I talked about vision. The first one is this, conviction. You should have conviction. That's why when I say, what's the first point of the 3 Ds? I wanted some passion, right? Because if you believe something, you're going to be passionate about it. And when I talk about passion, I'm not saying you have to be the loudest person, right? But people have to feel it. They have to sense it in their gut that you believe and you're going to own this vision to the day you die, right? That's what vision is all about, right? People who are willing to do the hard thing with you because you believe it and they're feeding off of your belief, right? So what is the first D to captaining?
Direct with vision. Direct.
All right, we're going to have to work on that. What's the first D to captaining?
Direct with vision.
Direct with vision, right? So first thing, you got to have conviction. Second thing, you got to be clear. You got to use words that people understand, right? Sometimes some of you, like people love to use these big academic words because they've been schooled. Guess what? They don't know what you're talking about and you're gonna lose them, right? So use clear, simple language for the layman person, okay? So it's conviction, all right? You got to be clear. And the last one is you got to be concise. Concise. Okay, this one is my favorite one. Some of you have the art of being concise. You're a little too concise. But what I mean too concise is like you are so short, we don't know if you've actually said a sentence, right? You're just like, you say quick words and you're like, and that's it, I'm done, right? No, but some of you don't know when to stop, right? It's okay. Many times we land on one or the other, right? I used to be someone who, if you gave me the mic, I would just talk and 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 talk until someone would be like, Ken, shh, or they just mute my mic and then I'm done, right? So like for you, just realizing you have to be concise, right? You have to end with a bang. How many of you have ever been at a service or maybe a ceremony or whatever type of, even on your mission trip, and someone starts talking and they don't know when to stop and end, right? And then when they do end, they start having bunny trails of their ending and bunny trail and bunny trail and bunny trail and bunny trail. And you're like, what was this person's main point? Because they weren't concise, right? So when you are casting vision as a leader, you want to make sure that you do it with conviction, you're clear, and you're concise. Where are you going? Where are you ending? And why are you doing it? All right, the second one is this. You're going to drive the process. You're going to drive the process. What's the first D to captaining?
Direct with vision.
What's the second one?
Drive the process.
All right, let's try that again. What's the first one?
Direct with vision.
What's the second one?
Drive the process.
All right, drive the process. Your job is to get stuff done. Ultimately, that's your job as a team leader. Get her done. Right? And you'd be like, well, what's the definition of get her done? Right? Like you might be like, oh, we're just going to hang out, we're going to relax. No, like I think about it like this. I'm bringing a group and I have 1 or 2 weeks, and we all know that goes by super fast. I'm going to make every moment count. From 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night, every moment is accounted for. Every moment. Because why? We're only there for 2 weeks. We only have 2 weeks to make an impact with this group of people. And however you utilize that time, right, that's how you're going to get that stuff done. How many times have you been ever in this situation where you're like, I'm going to wake up early in the morning, I have this awesome to-do list, you're going to do it, and then you like wake up early in the morning, you shower, you feel ready to go, and then you just decide to check your email real quick. And then all of a sudden from checking your email, you're on Facebook, or then someone else tries to call you, and then all of a sudden you realize it's the afternoon and you haven't touched your to-do list at all. How many has that ever happened to you? Right? You didn't get stuff done. You got busy work done, but you didn't get stuff done. As a team leader, we got to get stuff done. And what's that stuff that we got to get done? It's the work of the ministry that we are called to do when we're on the field. Right? It's the evangelism. It's the VBS. It's the service project. Right? Sometimes people are like, hey, let's see how we could do this service project. Right? And people are like, let's just take our time. I'm like, no. Let's see how fast and efficient and effective we could do this. They told me we could do it in 6 hours. Let's see if we could get it done in 4. Why? Because then we have 2 extra hours to go do street evangelism, because that's what we're here for. Right? I want to be as effective as possible. So you want to drive the process, you get the job done. The second thing in driving the process is that you have to set some goals. You have to set some goals. The one thing that I have found in my 10 years of seeing short-term trips and with team leaders, the weakest part in any organization that I've noticed was that they don't set goals for their team. And what I mean by goals is that I'm like, have you ever set a goal of like, hey, each person in my team has to try to evangelize to at least 10 different people? And you might be like, oh, I don't want to do that. But like the purpose for the thing is for them to find out how are they supposed to fulfill the Great Commission. For many of them, they've never shared their faith. And what you're doing is you're just making a metric there for them to actually push and go do it. And that's the goal of setting goals. And you guys could come up with a whole bunch of different goals, right? We want to make sure that they're legit and realistic goals. That's why here I said you got to make SMART goals, right? How many of you guys have never heard of the SMART acronym? Oh, good. Everybody's heard it? Okay, so a couple people haven't. The first thing of the SMART acronym is specific. It's got to be real specific. What exactly do you want them to accomplish? The second one, it's measurable. You can actually measure their progress. The third one, it's actionable. They have to actually go do something. The next one is realistic. And the last one is timely. And what I mean by realistic is that sometimes, I remember this used to happen to me. I would lead a mission trip, and I was young in my faith, and I'm like, we're going to evangelize this whole country in 1 week. Right? We're going to have a revival in 1 week. And it's like, that might not be realistic. Like, unless the Holy Spirit decides to move and come on in, maybe. But it wasn't fully realistic. But you know what? You could say, hey, in VBS, we're going to try to get 50 kids to this VBS. That's our goal. Right? And you might be like, there's only 20 kids. All right, well then, there's 20 kids. Let's try to get all 20 kids to that VBS. But we're trying to have realistic goals. Because if you had a realistic goal, for example, like how many kids can you get to a VBS, then every student or every participant on your team now is going to look for kids to get to that VBS. That's the goal. All right, so you want to make sure that you set some goals. The third thing that you want to do in driving the process is you have clear expectations. You want to have clear expectations. I had the honor of leading with Candace, and we went to Ireland together. And one of the things that I remember, I kind of got jumped into that trip last minute. What was it, like 10 days before the trip or something like that? So I just had to start emailing Candace. I emailed her literally like 50 questions of what she's done so far, how's it working. And one of the things that I noticed is that she's responded to everything is that she had very clear expectations of me as a co-leader for the team, all these different things. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know the goal for our students and what we're supposed to be doing for them. So we got to have clear expectations. The next one is this, delegate ownership. You want to delegate ownership. Since your job is to get stuff done, the reality is that you can't do it all on your own. Right? I remember having to think about it. If you're supposed to do all the ministry, keep all the finances, take care of all the operations, keep contact with the global partners, and make sure that the students' drama's taken care of, right? And make sure that Sally actually wakes up at the time she's supposed to wake up. Make sure breakfast is taken care of, lunch is taken care of, dinner's taken care of, and then like the 50 other things that are supposed to happen. If it's all on you, you're going to be busy doing busy work and not actually doing ministry work. So the way that you avoid that is that you delegate, all right, ownership. You give it out. And you find people in your team be like, hey, I see that you have this leadership ability. I'm going to give this to you. Okay? Here's the key thing, though. When you delegate ownership, you better inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. It's just a good follow-up tool. Right? I will give you a great example of how I failed in this circumstance once. Okay? I was on a trip, and I was with one of my leaders. Okay? So I was like, at that point, the top leader. Then I had a leader under me, and I said, hey, I need you to have a follow-up conversation with this individual, right? Because this individual is having a lot of issues and personal issues come up in their life. And as that was happening, he's like, I got it. I will take care of it. I'm like, okay, sweet. And then I had to leave to go to a different site, and I was going to come back in 1 week. My downfall in that trip was that I didn't follow up with that person the next day and be like, hey, did you have this conversation with them? I waited till a week till I got back to that site. When I got back to the site, I brought my leader in, and I was like, hey, how'd that conversation go? He's like, oh man, I totally forgot. And I was like, dude, that was like supposed to be your number one priority, was to have this conversation with this kid who's struggling like crazy, and you didn't do it. Like, that was a major fail on you. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's a major fail on me, because I should have followed up. As leaders, when we delegate, we just got to make sure we follow up quickly, okay? And that you have clear expectations for your people, okay? So what's the first D to captaining?
Direct with vision.
All right, what's the second one?
Drive the process.
All right, and the third one is this. I'm glad you asked. He's like, I've been waiting for the third one. Decide, decide, decide. I know I couldn't think of anything more clever than decide, decide, decide. I just wanted to make sure it was clear, right? You got to decide, decide, decide. So what's the first one?
Direct with vision.
What's the second one?
Drive the process.
What's the third one?
Decide, decide, decide.
Okay. As you all know, challenges will come in making decisions, right? You always have to make decisions when you're on the field. Some of those are going to be safety issues, right? Some of them are going to be team cohesion issues or drama, right? I've been blessed to lead young people on trips. I don't know how many of you have. One of my favorite ones was middle schoolers, 11 to 13-year-olds. It's the hardest ministry I've ever done in my entire life. And at that time, we had a special case where it's like for every 3 young leader or 3 middle school kids, you had one 18-year-old with them. And that 18-year-old was supposed to be with them 24/7. I mean, I thought my job was hard. That dude's job was really hard. Like nonstop, they were just going and going and going. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, there's so many decisions we had to make. There's so much drama. Like I didn't realize like middle schoolers had that much drama. I'm like, dude, calm down, like relax. And they were like, no, we will not calm down. He stole my yo-yo. I'm like, you don't even know what a yo-yo is, right? So making sure that you are always figuring out how to bring team cohesion together. As you are getting ready, if you guys are going on a mission trip this summer or in the winter or next year, one of the things that you should be planning is, what are the things that I'm going to do to bring team cohesion? What are the events that I'm going to plan while you're on the field? Yes, you could have events while you're on the field, right? What are the small things that you're going to do, right? I remember that same trip when we had these middle schoolers, the leader that I was with, she decided to take this massive stick, or imagine just a room full of like 3,000 students who are going on a mission trip, right? And you have all of them who are in high school age, so they're all like taller than me, right? But you have middle schoolers who are like smaller than my ankles, right? And you're trying to find all your middle schoolers in this large room of 3,000, right? It can get a little overwhelming. I'm a little overwhelmed just thinking about it again. My leader, she had this great idea. She's like, hey, what if I get this stick and I put a bunny on it? I'm like, why a bunny? She's like, because people are going to follow the rabbit. I'm like, that is the weirdest thought ever. But I was like, sure, let's try it, right? So she did it. And we were like, whenever they saw the rabbit bouncing, that was their cue to follow the rabbit. And we never had to worry about it because the middle schoolers were like, where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? And I'm like, I can't believe this rabbit is working. It's ingenious, right? But you know what happened? When we were just going to do that for like the first 3 days, And then everywhere where we went, they were like, where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? The rabbit's our leader. I'm like, thanks, I feel great. I just got debunked by a rabbit, right? But it was one of those things that we had to realize that like, okay, we can do this, all right? So find creative things that you can do. Make sure that you always have like encouraging word of the day for those people, okay? There's people in your team who are gonna be words of affirmation. You're gonna wanna encourage them. These are just random practical tips that I'm trying to give you on team cohesion, okay? The next thing is this. You have to decide what will be the most effective ministry. What will be the most effective ministry? I'm just giving you stuff that I've done wrong, right? I have done pretty good stuff, but I'm just kind of giving you stuff that I've done wrong so you could just learn from it. I know many of you have had these situations as well. But for example, one of the things that I think about when it comes to effective ministry is that effective ministry, both you have to make sure that you're having effective ministry with those who do not know Christ, but you're also having effective ministry with those who do know Christ. And here's a great example of how I did not do that as well. This was my first time in a leadership position on a mission trip. And the first thing we were going to do a skit. We were going to do like a gospel skit, right, or a drama for the people there. And as we were going to do the skit, they hand it to me, right? And I'm super excited because now I get to work with the nationals, right? And luckily I knew Spanish, so it was going to be easy for me to have a conversation with them. And as I'm getting ready to have a conversation, I look at the skit that they built. They were like, we worked so hard and so long on this thing. I think you're really going to love it. I grabbed it. I looked at it, and I'm like, where is the gospel? I'm like, the gospel is not in it. They're like, oh, we just want to talk about love. I'm like, that's what the gospel is about, right? So at that moment, I had this decision of like, do I become very tactful in my approach of how do we fix this? Or do I just tell them they're wrong and try to change the whole thing? I was not tactful. I broke out my New York City, get it done mentality, and realizing that effective ministry, I started to just derail them, and I said, this is ridiculous. This was this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This is not the gospel. This is not a great skit. This doesn't have anything to do with it. We have to redo it. And what I did is I was destroying bridges. This is like what not